What is up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Hobby Hotline Overtime, our weekly Tuesday night show. My name, of course, is Drew or the DH, and joining me tonight, we've got an awesome panel. First off, we've got 1 Million Cubs, Bo Thompson. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? Good evening.
Yes, and we've also got with us the one and only John Keating. What's up, dude? All the way from London.
I'm laughing at Rich rubbing his eyes.
It's what time where you are?
It's 2 a.m.
2 a.m. All right. Well, there you go. I appreciate the dedication. And also joining us today, we have the one, the only Uncle Rich Klein.
I'm jealous of John. He's in London during Wimbledon. And if he doesn't get to go to the tournament, I would say, John, you're missing. You know, he there may be work related stuff, but that's a golden opportunity. If you've never been there, you've got to go there at least once.
Yeah,
you allowed to throw batteries at Wimbledon?
You're allowed to do a lot of things, but you'll probably end up in the pokey if you do that one in Wimbledon.
Yeah,
God,
but on the other hand,
that's on my bucket list.
You know, we were having I actually came here because I thought we were going to have food talk. In our little group chat, we were talking about crab ragoon pizza. I mean, there's nothing when I listen to Bo's chat in the morning that gets me going as much as hearing his Dunkin' Donuts, order on the thing. And both of us at the beginning of the year had to redo our Dunkin' Donuts order. So it was really.
You like brown sauce? They put this on everything over here, Rich.
I've been to England. I know it's I can lose 20 pounds in a week in England, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
The only thing worse is Ireland. It's the only place with the worst food in England.
30 there.
There you go. What's up, card hobbyist, KBO collection, Victor Peeps, Double D vintage baseball cards. Thanks everyone else also for tuning in. I put the link in the chat. Please feel free to call in, join the show with any questions, comments, anything that you'd like to talk about. We'd love to talk about as well as always. And if you'd like to just put it in the chat, feel free to just drop it in the chat and we'll address that as well. But Rich, before we started the show, you kind of suggested we lead off with it. I think it's a great idea. Where it's later this month. It's right around the corner. It's coming up. And I think we'll probably blink and it'll be here. But the National is right around the corner. So you guys excited? Getting ready for it?
We're 3 weeks away from dealer setup day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's 21 days for when people start really winging the money around at the National. But I wanted to talk about this in a slightly different way.
Absolutely.
There was a post on LinkedIn from the new CEO of Beckett talking about what they were going to introduce at the National.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be like their reboot, so to speak.
Right.
You know, what they want to do. And back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, the National was the place where everything was announced.
Right.
You know, you would announce stuff at what's now the Industry Summit, the Hawaii Trade Conference in February, and then you would, do 6 months later the National to either successfully continue what you talked about in Hawaii, where very few people could afford to go, or you then announce something new with the National, a new product line, a new idea, a new company, new things at the National. And
we also had monthly price guides too, right?
Going to start doing stuff like that to bring news and excitement back to the National. The National is so cool, but we haven't really had a lot of news come out of it in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I wonder is that because, we're in a constant news cycle here in the internet age where news spreads so quickly, and the National, especially now, like people are, they're selling out of the VIP passes. There's going to be a huge crowd regardless, maybe not as big as the last couple Nationals, but it's still going to be a, huge attendance. That, is there really a need to capture an audience to break some news when they can wait for a slow news day and drop it off and it spreads like wildfire on the internet?
Yeah. If you're Tops, for example, and you have a crowd, you have somebody like Alan Nars making the announcement, who's Mr. Excitement at the show.
Oh gosh, yes.
Thank you. Yes. But you know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Could you imagine Alan Nars making an announcement about something new for Tops?
You can reach millions in a second,
400
Rich.
people
Millions.
Yeah.
On Twitter, on Instagram. You don't
Yeah.
need who wants to talk to 500 people or 1,000 people when you can talk to millions?
Crowd reaction.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever do live
it is.
radio? When you did live radio, did you ever do?
And they've also got the loudest
studio?
speaker. They've also got the loudest speaker, so he's you definitely hear him. But that would be cool to hear, I think. But I think, Bo, I think you nailed it. John, you just nailed it too. I always compare it when I started Let Me Get That Potograph, when Stu and I would sit there and we would literally have to think of what topic we were going to talk about that week, because there wasn't a constant news cycle. And now there is that constant news cycle. People are putting stuff out weekly. There's things going on. And so I think, like you said, when it's a slow news week, a lot of these companies, I think now they see, okay, hey, we can throw this out on the internet, bing, bang, boom. But I do kind of think you're going to start to see some pretty big announcements also at the National. I think some of these companies might be saving some of these big announcements for the National as it gets bigger, because like you said, Bo, they're selling out of passes. There's going to be a ton of people there. There's no better way to really garner the attention of the hobby for an entire week as opposed to a day than to make some massive announcement or a massive reboot at the National.
What if you're company A and you have this big announcement you're going to make at 3 p.m. on Saturday, and company B knows that, and they make the announcement at 6 p.m. on Friday, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, an hour before you? You're nothing happens. Whatever big news you just announced is trumped by whomever just announced something before you.
Sure. Oh no, that absolutely that is the possibility. That possibility does exist.
Are there any secrets anymore too? Like I believe there'll never be another Kennedy assassination because we can't keep our mouths shut, right?
Beckett is still such a big name with the grading and the heritage and the history that even if somebody quote trumps their announcement, it'll still garner a lot of interest to see what they want to do.
To you and I, Rich, but there's a different generation out there that Beckett means, third place, fourth place to them, right?
Now
that's in grading. There's still a lot of people that, and granted, it's our generation, but our generation still has a lot of the collectors.
Oh, for sure.
And their authentication department is absolutely tearing it up right now as well. But Peeps asks, possibly a new Beckett slab or a label. I don't know if they necessarily go that route. They talked about maybe getting away with the paper labels for the 8.5s and actually making those labels nicer. But outside of that, I haven't seen anything that would make me think that they would do a total revamp like that. But I don't know what this major announcement could really be.
Prepare to be disappointed.
We'll find.
I know, exactly. Like I don't see. They already have authentication. They already what.
And I don't mean just Beckett. I mean if this were so and so.
Yeah, no, any company.
It's like the hype is so much bigger than reality most of the time, right?
Right.
Or they would have announced something by now to get a market advantage.
To speak to the card hobbyists real quick, Beckett needs a new website. Topps needs a new website. I know who's built half these websites. I went to college with them. I know the company, Blue Acorn. They need to all abandon that company and get a new website. But
I'm on the Beckett website more than any hobby website there is out there. That's where I have my collection, all that stuff. So I don't mean to be a wet blanket on Beckett, but they definitely need some website help. That's for sure.
Yeah. As do a lot of people. And Double D asks us, does Beckett BGS grade vintage cards? Yeah, they still grade vintage cards.
The BVG? They still do BVG?
I believe so, don't they? Okay. Don't they, Rich? Yeah.
They sure do.
I thought they still did.
They still do. They're not going to give that up. That's
okay.
That's a guarantee. I mean,
hey, what's the cutoff for that, Rich?
They're not giving that up.
What's the cutoff for BVG?
1980.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's put that to bed, everybody.
Believe me, there were long discussions about what to cut the BVG at.
And that's
But
the right answer.
That's the right answer. The year.
Yeah.
Which in reality, I think was a good choice.
Yeah, it's the obvious choice, right?
As we look today, it was an obvious choice then, and an obvious choice now. But
yeah, back then,
it didn't seem to be so obvious then.
Yeah, what's going on, 3D collection?
The National's already like a bit of a 3-ring circles, and this would just add another dimension to the National, having news break and having the word go out on the floor. And I know everybody's got their phone; they're all on the internet, but then they will also spread the word very quickly. Bo's not going to the National. He'll find out really quickly. He'll do a webcast the next day about what he heard from the National.
Oh no, absolutely. You'll have tons of content.
The National, but Bo with his daily podcast, daily webcast, will talk about, I'm sure, some of that stuff.
Oh yeah, and you'll have tons and tons. I mean, myself included, of content creators. There's some of them with film crews. I will not be one of those, but you'll see some with film crews and some with not. But there will be a million content creators to get that news out there immediately, and that's why I was saying, like, I understand releasing it at any time. I understand there's the possibility of another company, trumping your announcement. At that point, you just have to have faith in your company, I think. But putting it out there like that, it is going to be all over the internet. Just like at the Mint Collective when CSG put out their new label. It was everywhere. As soon as they announced it, it was everywhere. Even if you weren't there or anywhere, you saw everything about it.
Did that shake things up? I mean, I think it's a better looking label, but did that really? I mean,
no,
it didn't impact me like it was a ripple, I guess. I mean,
right.
But it's CSG.
But I don't really think every and a major announcement for Beckett could be huge for them. It's not going to be that big for me because I don't deal with Beckett much personally, but for the people that do, it could be a big announcement. So, I mean, I think it's, I think it goes back to who the target audience is.
They need to, that's the thing. They need to, the people they deal with already is one thing. They need to get more people through the gates, right?
Exactly.
That's what they need. Need to throw a little chicken in the crab pot, as they say down there in Atlantic City.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Zach Sports Cards, for tuning in. Thank you very much.
What else we got? Let's go national.
Yeah. All right. So what are you guys most excited about for the National?
Seeing you.
I love you, Uncle Rich.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes.
I'm the same as Rich. I want to see people because, yes, there's cards there and more of them than anywhere else. But, I've waited my whole life to get cards. I just want to see people.
Yeah, I want to see people, and I want to see how many kids are there. I think you're going to see tons of them this year. Jude and I did something pretty cool over this weekend. I hope you guys all had a good holiday weekend and everything. But for my birthday, which was the 3rd, he got me tickets for the Hickory Crawdads game. And so when we went to the game, he actually had the idea. He was like, why don't we give some baseball cards away? And I was like, well, that's a really good idea. So we put together some packs of baseball cards, about 20 of them or so, put a little note inside, congratulations, blah, 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 and hit them around the entire stadium. Some on the outside, some on the inside, stuff like that. And then we walked around the stadium at the end of the night to see. All 20 of them or so were gone. There was one person that left a thank you note right there on it. So hopefully they went to some kids and stuff, and it was cool. But I'm hoping, at least my biggest thing is to see a lot of kids, because I saw a ton last year, and I want to see some of those same kids, and I want to see more, because there was even a lot at the Mint, to be honest.
You'll see one thing people have been sleeping on with Atlantic City is the fact that it's a day trip destination, right? So
right,
within a 3-hour drive, there's a gajillion people. So something, Chicago is a destination for a lot of collectors. Chicago's a big city for sure, but you have a lot of people, and Peeps, I'm going to question what Peeps says, but you have a lot of people that are going to be making day trips, which will add an interesting element to it. New York, Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, all that stuff. So I think that's where you're going to see a lot of kids. Plus, there's people down there at the shore on vacation, hundreds of thousands of people. So
sure.
And the Peeps, I think that the thing you put up from Peeps, I believe the CSG did include gaming and the SGC did not. That's the way I read that graphic. Maybe I'm wrong, but I read that CSG's had a split in there that showed gaming and sports cards, but SGC was strictly sports cards. So that's the way I read that graphic. And SGC would be second if I'm reading it correctly, but I can't read very well or type very well.
So, Bo, what about you? What you looking forward to, man?
I'm excited to live vicariously through you guys.
There you go.
You know, it's kind of like a new. I liken not going to the National this year, much like when Top Series 1 is released in January. It's cold. It's the winter. I'm not excited for baseball because it's still months away. But as soon as I start seeing those packs being ripped open on release week of Topps, I'm all of a sudden I'm getting FOMO. So, you know, I'm not excited because I'm not going. But as soon as I see your content and everybody's content from the National, then I'm going to get that FOMO and I'm going to be consuming as much content from all the creators that are in Atlantic City.
And I'm sure putting some out as well.
Absolutely.
Even putting it out, living it through, you know.
Yep, absolutely.
There you go.
And I will point out that we will do something for Hobby Hotline at the show. We'll probably do the Saturday morning like we did last year, even if we just do a media room, and we'll probably, and we may do other things as well for Hobby Hotline at the Nationals. So we will be, you know, representing the show there as well.
We absolutely will. And Houston and Son, that's absolutely awesome. 3 years old. Jude's been to one. He's probably going to accompany me to next year's National. I think I'm going to let him work with me since he's doing since he's got his own Let Me Get That Potograph spinoff show now. So Jude will probably be accompanying me here shortly and probably take over as the face of the show here soon. He'll probably be kicking me to the curb in about a year or so. But one thing that I am looking forward to at the National, and I know, Rich, it's something that you deal a lot in, is I'm looking forward to being able to, see some really awesome and amazing, you know, cards that are museum quality, but also sit down and dive through some of those bulk common boxes, the dollar boxes, the incredible deals that you can find. And some of the best dollar boxes, I think, and like you'll ever find are always at the National. And I know you deal a lot in bulk as well. So I know that's something I'm looking forward to.
You can go to we could have had a Hobby Hotline last year from the Singles Club dollar box booth any day of the National. And I'm sure that's going to be the same in a couple weeks.
What are the year ranges
at the Singles Club? At the booth almost at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. The year range, I found it to be pretty much anything you want to find, really. I mean, there's a lot more modern, of course, but I still see tons of old school stuff. There's tons of not necessarily dollar boxes, but cheaper, you know, bargain bin boxes, you know, and sets up like that of 80s, 70s, you know, all that types of stuff, at least I've seen. I don't know about you, Rich. I know you go through a lot as well.
Yeah, there is no doubt that you can find discount or what we call value boxes of older cards at the National from a lot of the vendors. And I mean, they won't be your PSA 10s, but a lot of times they're nice cards and you can find good bargains in there. And sometimes you can really find good bargains in there. I found a couple of years ago a $300 card in a dollar box.
Wow, what was that, Rich?
Yeah, 68 Mike McCormick white letter. And it was
I think you told a story about that. You called that out, didn't you?
And I debated, and I've told the story on Dr. Beckett's podcast. Mm-hmm. And I debated with myself for 15 minutes. Do I tell him or you know? And he's a really good guy. I said, Joe, and his name is Joe Davis.
Atlanta, is that?
Cards, I believe, is his thing. And I said, Joe, I don't mind pulling a $20 card out of your dollar box. I do mind pulling a $300 card out of your dollar box.
Yeah.
And we ended up splitting. He sold it for us, and he paid at the time the more reasonable grading cost, and we split the money after that. So it worked out very well. But, I found a $300 card in a dollar box.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
Bo
doubt
Thompson
it.
does that stuff.
I really don't doubt it. If you go to Singles Club, which is always one of the best, if you go to a lot of other tables right around there, at least I've looked from the layout I've seen, and that you can follow a lot of these people on Twitter as well. If you search for National Dollar Box, you'll see people start to promote what they've got, but you can find some absolutely incredible stuff. I walk away every year spending more money on those than I do on any other card whatsoever. But speaking of bulk,
that's the thing. The National is, even though it sounds expensive, there's budget for everybody at the National.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Comic-Con or whatever it is, or whatever they call the Fan Expo in Dallas a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, probably not Comic-Con because that's trade.
Not Comic-Con, it's Fan Expo. It's $62 to get in the door on Saturday, $52 to get in the door on Sunday.
Yeah.
This is before you buy an autograph or before you buy an item. Plus, you have to pay for parking if you go to the Dallas Convention Center where it was.
Yeah. Here's a good question from Peeps right here. Do you think that singles will be bigger this year, given people's budgets with the economy, everything like that? Do you think dollar boxes will be even more popular?
What do you think? If you're traveling that far, are you there for dollar boxes? Seems like a tough return on your investment, right? If you're flying in.
I think what he's saying is, do you think discount or value boxes will be more popular?
Right.
Well, I will say from my experience in the shows that I've attended and promoted and been a dealer at, especially in the last 2 to 3 months, there's been a big uptick in dealers that are offering bargain boxes. My show that I promote in Madison, early on, I was the only, when I was set up at a table, I was the only one with bargain boxes. And there, a couple dealers would have, smaller setups. But now we have multiple dealers that have bargain boxes. And some of those guys are saying they get more attention than the showcase or my higher end cards. So I've definitely seen a transition in popularity at shows for the bargain boxes, the dollar cards, the $5 boxes, and some of those types of setups.
Have we ever seen Rich Klein without white boxes behind him?
I know, right? Now I will say, I've been attacking those $5 boxes and everything, and those some dollar boxes, just for the simple fact that with grading coming back, I'm able now, whereas before I might have been looking at a ton of base to try and grade and everything. Now I'm just looking at a colored parallel or something a little higher, but paying the same price I'd be paying for that base, a year or so ago, if not less, and able to grade it and, kind of adjust and adapt and start to move stuff pretty quickly. So, I've been attacking those boxes like crazy, and I think a lot of other people are as well. But that's just me. But, all right. So, Rich, you had mentioned before, we mentioned that there were no white cardboard boxes behind you.
Yes, I sold my office for the third time in 2 years.
Yeah.
I've also sold a storage unit during that period as well. And this is all from my synagogues, the Brotherhood. They were very happy when on Friday before services, I gave them some more money. It was like, okay, more money sounds good. And one of the things is that I actually had a couple other people, literally as I was doing the deal with this person, email me or text me saying, do you still have that bulk you're advertising on Craigslist? And I know Bo buys these monster, wonderful things from Goodwill for, and it's a pallet, and and he's doing very well with them. And John buys bulk. There's the thing with bulk, and you buy bulk in a different way. There's a market in quantity stuff. There's a market in bulk, and it's a good market. And it's a market that in some ways you don't have to know a lot about to make money on it too.
Oh, absolutely.
And then that goes back to the comment about selling singles. If you're buying in bulk, you're able to sell your singles cheaper too.
Yeah.
Or quantity.
No, 100%. I mean, I've got this entire rack of stuff behind me is nothing but, my bulk stuff that I sort out for $1, $5 boxes and stuff like that for shows all the time. There's a wonderful market right now.
So, Bo, you tell us about the adventures in bulk and adventures in that.
Yeah.
What's been your most fun doing all this bulk this year?
I've had a lot of success, especially in the last month or two. I'm starting to see some really good bargain boxes, and I'll buy something that I look forward to is as I'm flipping through, say a dollar box, is there enough in here that I know I can flip and put in my eBay store? If there is, I'll ask the dealer, what type of price. I'll have a price in my mind of where that's going to be, and hopefully we're pretty close. And usually that is the case. This past weekend I did a show, and I had a dealer. And it was a very small dollar box, and there's maybe 800 cards total. Kind of a mix between 25-cent, 50-cent type cards, but also some $10 cards, maybe $15, $20 card. There was a Dennis Eckersley rookie card in there. And I was able to get the box for a little under 10 cents per card. So while there's going to be some, cards that might go in my quarter box, there's going to be enough $5 and $10 cards that I'll be able to flip. And then at the end of the show, one of the dealers had dime boxes. And so I started to flip through the dime boxes, and I move a lot of low end cards on eBay, $1.50, $2 shipped. And people would be surprised at the amount of junk wax era 80s and 90s stars that will actually sell on eBay. And, I can move these all day at $1.50, with free shipping, but at 10 cents, it kind of eats into the margins. If I can get that down to a penny or 2 cents, that dime, when you're moving a lot of volume, that dime difference is pretty big. So I was able to get a couple of 4-row boxes, fill them up for $50, around a penny a card in that type of deal. And then you sit down and you go through, and hey, this might be a $5 card, and kind of take it from there. And it's low risk. And in a lot of these cases, as I'm set up at these same shows, and basically the money I make on my own bargain boxes, I just put into other boxes that I can turn around and flip on eBay. Right. So it's a lot of fun doing that.
Well, we've got your new floor, Bo. Is that your new floor, $1.50, or because of the postage stuff? Okay.
Yep, $1.50.
John, you do a lot of bulk. You buy some bulk lots too.
Well, we've actually got a guest we're going to pull in here as well. Go on and pull him in real quick.
Oh, it's Norman. Look at that.
I had to bring Norman on. He wanted to say hi to John. He saw John.
Hey, Norman.
He started
Come to Pennsylvania. Bring him up to AC, would you? I'll take care of him.
Yeah, I know you would.
I'll dog sit him for you.
You won't even go to the show. You'll be like, I'm just hanging with Norman
I
for the whole national.
Imagine a ransom. Imagine what I could get out of that beast by holding Norman ransom.
I'd have to trade you.
So we've got a couple of questions here in the comments I figure we can address real quick. And first from the card hobbyist, since we have been speaking on the national, prediction for the biggest hobby news once the nationals come and gone. And I personally think that the biggest news is going to be simply a huge pull or a massive sale. I don't think there's going to be any earth-shattering news from a company, from any company standpoint. I think we're deep with so much wax being open, just a massive, massive pull. And I think the biggest shock would probably be the influx of TCG that we're going to see. I think you're going to see more TCG at this year's national than we've ever seen before.
At the Sports Card Collectors Convention, you're going to have TCG?
Yep. Oh, yep.
I'm such a purist.
No, I know, but I know.
What's the big unicorn out there, Drew?
First ever TCG trade night this year they're promoting. They're promoting it pretty heavily, so I'd expect to see a pretty heavy presence.
What's the big whale that's still out there unopened? Does anybody know? Because I don't follow that stuff. I'm not sure. the triple logo man was, right? What's the newest one?
There's plenty. Basketball Prism will be out by then, so it'll be probably all the Wisemans or not no, not the Wisemans, the Suggs and all those guys from this year's draft class, this year's Prism, probably all their 101s. I can't really think of any other trading like Pokemon and stuff. Double D.
Do you think the triple logo man will be there on display somewhere at the National?
It will be.
Yeah.
Ken Golden posted something on Instagram.
Yeah,
I think
we know who the winner is, or no? It's just going to be there anonymously.
I think it's just going to be there on display.
I think Ken bid on it himself.
Julio Rodriguez will have with the start he's having as he's improving each month. There'll be some one-of-one Bowman Chrome signed card of Julio Rodriguez. That it won't be quite as big, but it'll be pretty darn good. He got 15 homers and 20 steals faster than any player in Major League history.
Yeah,
and right on his rookie, he's hitting 272. His OPS is, forgive me for using a modern term, his OPS has been really good the last couple of months. He looks to be that if he gets better strikeout percent, he could be the next superstar at this rate. And I know we always talk about the next superstar, barring injury. I mean, Tatis got hurt this year. Everybody, it seems like everybody gets hurt a little bit.
How many game-winning RBIs does he have? That's what I want to know.
I think he's batting leadoff, so the RBIs I don't think matters.
Schwarber's batting leadoff. He's got 2 home runs tonight. Come on, he's the GOAT.
Hey, John, OPS is a modern sports statistic, baseball statistic, on base plus slugging. It's really
sadistic?
Cool. Yeah, statistic.
I'm sorry,
down with OPS?
F war on you instead of OPS.
I like hit by pitch. Don Baylor. That was my favorite stat when I was growing up.
Ron Hunt was hit by a pitch 49 times in 1971. And I believe he's still living. You talk about a body that probably is still hurting to this day.
I forgot to say hi to Bo and Rich and Drew. So, hey guys.
Okay.
Yeah, what's going on, bro?
What's up? So since Mike is in here, I'm going to make my prediction for the biggest hobby news that the YouTube hit Chasing Cardboard will get a TV deal.
That'd be nice.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to happen by the National. I may have
after the National by the end of the year. After the National by the end.
It's going to be on RT, Russian television. Mike, congratulations.
Right, thank you, thanks, John.
You're headed to Eastern Ukraine.
Maybe he'll be on this OnlyFans that you're all telling me about.
Oh gosh! Oh god!
Hey, John, that was so funny that Julie's in here. She even laughed at that one.
Yeah.
I think that you guys, I said this before. I think you Chasing Cardboard is going to buy out a table there just to see what it's like. Not just to see what it's like, but to see what it's like and to do it.
Well, that'll be tough with Ty not at the National. So,
why is he not going to be at the National?
From where he is going to AC, probably a lot of the same reasons Bo is not going to the National. But
I got you.
I watched that with a tear in my eye as Bo was saying he wasn't going to the National, and it's okay.
He looked so happy on his back patio though, saying that. Nothing's getting me off this.
Bo. I mean, Bo pointed out for him to get to the Nationals a $1,500 commitment.
Yeah,
least,
right? And there's a lot you can do with $1,500.
I could buy a lot of dime boxes with that.
Yep.
My prediction for after the National, I think, and we just did this on the fly today. So if you don't follow Bench Clearing and want to go watch On the Fly, we talked about this. That this is an important national for the National.
Yeah.
Because shows are becoming bigger and better than ever. Mm-hmm. And I think at what point, and they've proved it in Dallas, you don't need all the corporate presence to have a great, awesome show. And you can go, all right, what is the differentiator that the National provides over going somewhere else and doing other shows? And if eventually, I've heard rumors about Burbank, sponsoring some shows on the West Coast. Like
that started in a room called the Percolator Room in Dallas.
I know. I don't want to disclose any of our, like Rich and I and John have some inside information on some of this. It could be the National is going to get more and more competition is my point. And at what point does it become less important? And they are on doing it in AC with a lot of people going, screw AC, I'm not going. It's a pain in the butt to get there, yada yada. There's some people like me that'll go no matter where it is, and there's a lot of people though that go, no, I'll pass. I can go to my show down the road. I can go to my synagogue show or whatever you want to do. Shout out to Rich Klein. You can go wherever you want and find cards. What is the mystique of going to the national? It's losing some of that luster. And I think that the biggest news for the national coming and going is it might come and go. And it'll be like, if no one's in the forest when the tree falls, do you hear it? If the national comes and goes and there's not a lot of excitement around it and hype around it, there will be again for that core group of people that are diehard national people.
A lot of signings too, right? The signings are a huge deal at the national. It's
yeah,
very regional in Dallas. Very regional.
But there's other shows like Chantilly has way better signers. The Philly show has way better signers than not necessarily than the national, but they can go to those people will have no problem finding places where they can sign sports cards and memorabilia if they want those players.
No, I think we even discussed this a little bit, Mike, a long time ago when we were just talking about how we saw this explosion when all these shows that have come up this year, like when the Mint was announced and all these other awesome local shows started to be building, Collecticons started going across the country. We talked about, what's the national going to do, because it does have that possibility of losing that, that must go to, must see feel. And I know a ton of people who are not going this year because it's in Jersey. Jersey was a polarizing move, and it definitely lost a lot of people that I know. I've heard the rumblings that a lot of people have that it might end up being Chicago and Chicago only. I'd like that. I think that'd be awesome. It might not happen. It'll probably bounce between a couple places still, but Atlantic City definitely pushed some people off as well. But I do think they need to at least innovate with what they do. I don't think they can just sit back on, okay, we added a Breakers Row. That's it. That's cool. I think, taking advantage of the main stage, I think that's one thing that could be done a million times better and could really be must-see hobby TV all week if they want it to be. So, we'll see.
Different crowd, whatever.
Cleveland will be back in the mix. The IX Center, which was originally supposed to go bye-bye, was actually saved. And so Cleveland the IX Center has its pros or cons, but it's a really accessible show to get to from the airport.
Yeah.
Like literally you get off the airport and you're at the show in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
So there's a lot to be said for Cleveland too. And it's near enough the megalopolis where you will get people driving to Cleveland and flying into Cleveland. The only problem with Cleveland is Chicago's wonderfully ideal because you have so many hotel rooms that you can walk to the National.
Yes.
Baltimore is another place. Anaheim, St. Louis, there are plenty of places that have enough hotel rooms you can walk to the National. And that's a huge advantage, having the convention center where at least you can walk to it. Dallas, there are pros and cons. You're 45 minutes from the airport because you got to go downtown from at the Dallas Convention Center, at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center. And yet, as I pointed out, the Fan Expo did just fine with tons of people at $62 a head coming in on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll let you guys finish your talk. I just wanted to. Norman was begging me. He wanted to say hi to John.
Awesome. Norman's the star of the show. Please have him stay.
Yeah.
Well, he saw John and he went and wanted to go outside and take care of some business. So I don't know what that says about John, but
right.
He's not the first one to have that reaction.
All right.
Thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. Keep up the great work.
Thanks. Have a good one. All right, Mr. Mike joining the show. Victor, yes, I agree. Victor, I'm looking forward to that. Everyone's looking forward to whenever that is, Sue's announcement where she's going next.
She already made one big announcement this year.
Yes. She got another one as well. So
did I say that out loud, Bo? I'm sorry. Anyway, onward and upward.
Yes.
And by the way, this is going to be, we're talking about the Dallas Card Show, but a few months ago, Kyle hired a guy named Joe White, who I used to work with at Beckett. Joe's got a lot of corporate contacts. Don't, again, this is one of these underrated, under the not under the table, but under the, main glass hire that, that adds an extra dimension that nobody else on Kyle's team yet can add to the show. So as I said, don't be surprised if the Dallas Card Show starts, whether, we have a table at COMC. Don't be surprised if we're being asked to move to a more corporate thing rather than just taking a table at the show.
Right.
The DCS is awesome. It's well run.
Yes.
For those who haven't been there, are probably sick of hearing about it, but it's a great place for collectors, and I'm sure it's a great place for dealers as well. It's just a nice setup, and Kyle's approachable, and obviously he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'd like to see him ramp it up.
Oh, I consider it, even at what it is right now, a destination show. If I'm putting together a list of shows, of must-go-to shows in a year, and I've got a list of 3 or 4, Dallas Card Show's on it, at least one of them. There's multiple, obviously, throughout the year, but they're destination shows, in my opinion.
Yep.
And Kyle doesn't look it, but he was actually he never had a dress that way, but he was actually an executive for a company. So he actually has quite a bit of business experience too.
Yep.
I don't know whether it was Saturday. Was somebody saying it's the same amount of tables? I find that hard to believe as the national. And I know you're talking about.
It's not the same amount of tables.
It's not. It can't be, right? Maybe it's the same amount of dealers, but at the national, dealers might have 3 times the footprint or twice the footprint, whatever.
Because each booth at the national is really like 2.5 tables.
Right.
Yep.
So the national is really about 1,500 tables. The Dallas Card Show's 700 tables, but there are probably the same amount of dealers setting up, or real close.
Right. Just bigger footprints in each booth.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's dead on.
Because if you're complaining about space for the national, which seems to be the company line, listen, he crams that thing into 1.25 rooms in Dallas.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it absolutely does. And one thing that Mike, when Mike was just on bringing up, is the national going to end up being destination, the big NSCC that it is the event of the year. If as more and more dealers come into it, and the way the national does their system of giving people tables, I can easily see a lot of the new people in this industry and a lot of the new dealers going to other shows and making those shows their destination shows, because Rich, you know this. The way tables are done, the longer you've had, if you've been there for 20 years, you're first in line, so to speak. If 20 is the top, then 19, 18, how many years in a row you have set up at the national. If you miss a year, you go all the way back to the beginning of the line.
No, actually, you get one pass every few years. So you don't go all the way back.
Yeah, you do get the one pass. But I could see a lot of people, saying, I'm not able to get the space, this and that, as the hobby continues to grow, and possibly start to see some of these other shows like the Dallas Card Show getting a lot bigger as they, focus on selling theirs, opposed to the national, where they can't get the room or can only, buy a quarter of someone's table or something like that.
So when does TCG stop? And I don't mean to say this condescendingly, but stop piggybacking off a show like the national. I only say that because there's, you talk about that show that was just in Dallas, and I know, Drew, you've been to a bunch of the non-sports.
I'm working.
Like, when is that division? When does that division happen? Because it can't be as lucrative as doing a show just for people in the TCG game.
Well, I will say the Collecticons. I'm hoping Collecticon can make that division happen. Collecticon's building something pretty amazing. That you see a little bit of sports cards, but not much. It's fully geared towards nothing but TCG, and they've got an incredible team behind it, and they've got an incredible group of backers behind it. So I know they're doing it again next year. It's a traveling show. It has about, I think we're going to do 7 totals, 7 this year, almost one every month. And I believe they're going to try and ramp it up to 11 or 12, one in every city next month. But I could see that as possibly something that could help if Collecticon continues to take off, kind of like Comic-Con, did, so to speak, for comics and everything. But until they get something like that and everything, I think you're going to continue to see it, because a lot of new dealers are jumping in and grabbing these TCG cards that are valuable, these MetaZoos, these whatever, these Pokemons, and all this stuff, and they're putting them with their sports cards because they're worth a lot of money. And I don't know when that piggyback's going to happen, like stop, until they have their own version of it, which I hope Collecticon can continue to be.
What about you, Bo? You know this, right?
Yeah,
what do you see at your shows?
So we're actually starting to see that that division begin. TCG is hugely popular around here. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. The show I promote here, I have several dealers that are strictly Pokemon and MTG, Magic the Gathering. One of my dealers started his own TCG only show in the Milwaukee area. And I think their first show they did last month was somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 tables, which is a pretty good start for any upstart card show for the first time. So I'm starting to see that take hold, and they had a successful event. I'm not sure if I don't think they're gonna do anything monthly at this time, but it's definitely, they're starting to get enough interest from both dealers and customers to have their own shows.
And Rich, like you charge admission at DCS, you don't at Bose. I'm wondering at DCS, because they have some stuff there. Is it worth somebody to pay $15 to look at 3 or 4 tables?
I'll also say most of the local stores here do some stuff with TCG, some more than others.
Yeah,
but almost everybody deals in it to some extent.
And I will say that you are seeing a massive crossover, both from people that are in it from a flipping aspect, obviously, but also from a collecting aspect. I've seen a lot of people that have gotten into it. I've kind of been forced to get into it because the kid who's looking at me and peeking through my door right now, even though he should be asleep, has been collecting them quite a bit. So
if I'm up, he can stay up. All right.
Yeah, there you go. No, he's allowed at summer, but yeah, so I mean, he's kind of got me forced into it. But I think a lot of collectors that are, I just turned 38, that a lot of people my age that were in that 90s era that are back into collecting again, they got kids and stuff like that. There is a big crossover that's going on. So I don't know if it's going to be as easy to just kind of cut bait, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, why pay $15-$20 entry fee if there's 2 tables of sports cards? Like, if you're a sports collector only, do not go to Collecticon. Do not buy your ticket, because you're going to see 2 tables of sports cards. It's going to be bought out in 5 minutes and it's gone. So
Rich and I, our generation, and Mike Moynihan's a great example. There was comic books and there was cards and there was a delineation. There were people that did both, but any of those shows back in the day, Rich, Willow Grove, I don't remember seeing comic books or anything like that.
No, there might be one person with comic books, one person with coins, but Willow Grove was 98% cards and memorabilia.
Right.
And it was so crowded. I mean, it was in the George Washington Motor Lodge in Willow Grove. If it's not the worst hotel that ever existed, it's in the top 5.
Listen, you and Dr. Jim have to get that out of your system. All right.
Well,
you get it.
John, I'll tell you later a story about Willow Grove and Dr. Beckett.
So we've got a comment here, and I think this is good to finish up today's show today. It's a 2-parter from Sports Card Show. First, it says Fanatics is going to Comic-Con, the sports card world, and the National will continue for dealers, but a large name like Fanatics will regionalize a sports card show. Do you guys see Fanatics trying to come in and do that big of an undertaking.
They will never conquer the secondary market.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
Nope.
And it'll never happen.
I agree. I 100. That's what I was about to say. The secondary market is so different than what they're doing right now with licenses.
But they will, they could very well do things to increase the market.
Yes.
As part of shows. They may not run the shows, but they may be actively involved.
Well, yeah, AEG is trying to do that with the Mint, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what we're trying to see with the Mint. They dip their toes in there, and there's people with a lot more seasoning that have done any kind of shows that could pull it off better than Fanatics. But I don't see them in the show promotion game. I think that's a tough infrastructure for them to ramp up.
I disagree. I think that's something that I could see, but they'll pay a third party. They'll pay a promoter to basically run the shows, a Kyle, and basically put the Fanatics name on it, where it's not Fanatics controlling the entire show, but it's their name and their presence. I could totally see that happen.
Where does that benefit them, though, Bo? Other than marketing, they could market any show they want and go to any show they want. Where does that benefit them?
Just
maybe if it's the national
name recognition, all sorts of, they can have their their fingerprint on pretty much everything within the show.
Yeah, I just feel like we all know the Fanatics name. Every collector knows the Fanatics name and what they like. I just don't see why we call it the ag factor in my business, the aggravation factor, and then their return on investment and time and all that. It just it's a stay in your lane kind of thing. I'm not being defensive with them. I just think that I can't see why they would want to.
Fanatics doesn't have a lane. Show? They want a piece of every piece of the pie within
the Dallas card show powered by Fanatics.
What does that do for you and the other 5,000 people?
John, you'd be amazed how many people, no matter what we think, I guarantee you 25 to 50% of the people coming into the Dallas card show may still not know the Fanatics is really tops nowadays. If you're collecting your 50s and 60s and 70s cards, you don't care about what Fanatics is doing. You're collecting
you said it right there. Cards. And that won't have any bearing on anything. You're going to go to that show whether it says Fanatics or whether it says Jiffy Lube.
The name, just the name itself makes a difference.
And that's everywhere already, right?
They want to be the
every ballpark.
They want to be the Kleenex of baseball cards.
Yes. Every ballpark has the Fanatics name in it, right? It's like we sometimes I think we think on a micro level. It's already out there. The Fanatics name and their marketing team is strong, and they've already conquered that domain. We're such a stubborn breed, us collectors, right? Like, and when I say us, I mean me. It's like I just don't see them. And it goes back to the whole 10X thing, which we keep saying. 10X is a unicorn. It's just not happening.
We have a guy on our panel that goes, "You do you, boo." Yeah. And but what he really means by that is that we're all going to look at the hobby in our own ways. Whatever Fanatics does or doesn't do is not going to affect really what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy the same cards. I'm going to pay something. I'm going to buy, I'm going to sell, I'm going to trade, I'm going to do bulk, I'm going to get donations, I'm going to sell the donations. All of that, guess what? It doesn't matter who's running what. I'll still be able to do that. And that's the beauty of this hobby is you do you. You, John, you love the 70s. I love the 70s too. One of our, Herman, who's watching the show, just finished the 72 set, and we talked him into doing the variation because they're actually easy to do.
But again, it goes to my point. They're wiser people than me running Fanatics, and if you're saying that, Rich, and I'm saying that, they have to say, why are we throwing money at something that we're not going to get?
But Fanatics isn't marketing to you guys or me or Drew.
Right.
When they want a 10X, they're marketing to people that don't buy cards. They're trying to market to the fringe. So they want to put their name on everything. They got to cast a wide net. They have big ambition to 10X the hobby, however you may interpret that. comment, they're not marketing to us.
Right.
They're not marketing to anybody watching this show. They're marketing to people that have no idea there's a hobby hotline, hobby content on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. They're marketing to people that haven't collected a baseball card ever or in the last 30 years, that all of a sudden, hey, this is baseball, football, basketball cards.
And according to Sports Card Show, this is on Ruben's list of things to do. He said Google it, and he's already announced that it's something that he wants to do. So like we said, they do want to be the Kleenex. With DR with the comment of the night, Fanatics being the Kleenex of the hobby, Fanatics blows.
You said it, not me.
Yeah. So I like that one myself. Thought that was quite funny. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Oh, absolutely, Double D. I think the hobby has a huge amount to grow, and you're seeing a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth going on right now.
Do you think it's growing right? Do you really think it's growing now? I think it's kind of headed down the other side of the slope right now. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's just I think there was a peak, a very recent peak, right?
I think value, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about card values, maybe, but if you're talking about the people that are in it and the people that are interested in it, I think way more people are interested in it. Card values might not be, across the board. I mean, I can give you 50 different cards right now that are 50x. And then I can give you 50 that are negative 100x, whatever. You can do that any step of the day. And yeah, overall things are down, but the amount of people coming into it, I see more and more people each day. I see more and more people that I know or that know that I'm in cards talking to me about wanting to get into cards. I think at shows I'm seeing a lot of new faces, especially the local ones. So I do think it's growing in that aspect, just maybe not in record profits and card value wise.
Yeah, I don't go by card value. That doesn't mean anything to me. I just think that I think that the events of the last couple of years, the pandemic, grew the hobby tremendously, and I would assume, I know people that have gotten out of it. And I would assume that translates to a broader level. But
there's definitely a lot of people that have gotten out of it. But just as someone that, I go back to the TCG world too, going in that world too, the amount of new people in there is astronomical. And when I go into the sports card area, I kind of see the same thing, at least on the ground floor from me. But, I think it kind of depends on what show you're at and where you're at, as to your view on all of that. So
let me ask you a question. Noise. Go ahead, Bo.
I think there's less noise. I think there's less. I think there's less hype. But I think from 5 years ago, it's a huge increase. Even over 2 years ago, a huge increase. Over the last year, a lot of the hype has died down. I think overall sales are at least secondary overall sales are down from peak last year. But I still
full,
think
right?
What's that?
The shelves are more full now.
Shelves are definitely more full.
Yeah.
I mean, you also, when I picked up at the smaller Dallas card show, they were 2021s, but all the boxes, all the baseball blasters I bought at 15 or 20 each, a whole group.
Yeah.
I still have a few left to open.
That's an indicator.
It's been fun. I've opened one a day.
Yeah.
So what I think is worrisome, and that's I'm starting to sound like one of those guys, but there was the junk wax bump, right? A lot of folks from the junk wax era dove back in, which is great for many of the reasons we all do after a long nap in the hobby. Sentimentality, all that stuff. What happens 5-10 years from now? What generation is gonna spur that growth? Because it was kind of like a little bit of a dark ages thing, right? Between 2000, maybe 2010 or 12. There's going to be a gap there, I think, of not people chasing what they didn't, because it's TCG, right, Drew? Like in that area.
Well, it could be. I see sports cards too. I think that's a deep topic to get into. I could get into that for an hour alone on you with that. But I do
2 hours till sunrise. Let's do it. All right.
But no, I do see what you're saying, and I do think you're gonna see gaps. Absolutely, there's gonna be gaps in the hobby for forever. I think I completely agree with that. I just think right now, just from like I said last night, putting out packs at the game to like Jude's baseball team, just like Double D says, his entire team collects baseball cards. I gave all the kids on Jude's team baseball cards at the end of the year. They loved it. It was the coolest thing in the world. Like I just see so many different avenues where I see a lot more people at least interested in it. I don't know if they stay in it. I can't follow up on everyone, but the interest I see being there.
I hope that never changes. I hope they never leave, because we all know the little boys grow up.
Yes.
They discover girls and music and horrible stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, as Nick Redwine said, when he and Debbie owned Nick's baseball cards, it's now 2 owners since then, we lose a lot of kids until they come back because of the 3 C's: cars, college, and cuties.
You got, and I think that's an absolute perfect ending line tonight, especially by Uncle Rich Klein.
We're not going to end on Wander Franco's batting average.
Well, you're more than welcome to.
We're not going to end on OnlyFans either. So cars, college, and cuties sounds like a good way to go.
All right.
And everyone stay tuned for Uncle Rich's OnlyFans.
But 259. Yeah, Uncle Rich After Dark.
There you go.
Well,
guys, please, that is going to wrap up another episode of Hobby Hotline Overtime. Make sure to tune in this Saturday, of course, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time for Hobby Hotline. We've got an awesome roundtable for you set up then. And, of course, every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. But, guys, great show. Enjoyed it quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Yes, and to everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much. And we will see you guys on Saturday.
Cheerio.